What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Universe of Sports. We're going to discuss some NBA basketball today, particularly my Los Angeles Lakers. As you know, I'm a big Los Angeles Lakers fan. Growing up in South Central Los Angeles, now called South LA. You know how we do it. Let's get to the particulars. The Lakers finished 26-56, a little bit off my 32-50 prediction of what I had for the season coming in, and with us finishing in the bottom three of the Western Conference, not the Western Conference, of the NBA rather, we have a 46.9% chance of keeping our pick and a 53.1% chance of losing the lottery pick. So I'm not going to even touch on the draft lottery that much until we find out if we keeping the pick or not. But let's just pray to the basketball gods at this point. If we lose the pick, it's not the end of the world, people. So let's not look into that. Also, I'm going to break down the roster today, and we got 6 core young players that I really like: D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Larry Nance Jr., and Ivica Zubac. But we'll get into that later. But we broke in a new head coach, a young head coach in Luke Walton. He's about 36 years old. He turns 37 this year. And for the most part, I really think Luke did a very good job keeping the boys motivated, keeping our kids focused throughout the season. And I really think I give Luke a B this season. Obviously, we could have did better. We started off 10-10, but with injuries to D'Angelo's knee and different things happening throughout the season, we weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. So look at it like this: we got a good young head coach, and I like to see more of Luke. Anyway, also this past season on February 21st, 2017, Magic Johnson was named the president of basketball operations of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I'm not looking at Magic as no savior. I'm not saying ding dong, the witch is dead, bye bye Jim Buss. But with Magic coming in, it gives the Lakers instant credibility, because now that we walk in the room, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, our new general manager, because Mitch Kupchak got fired as well, walk in the room, it gives the Lakers instant credibility, and nobody's going to turn those two down. Especially Magic Johnson. If Magic Johnson were to walk in the room, grown famous men feel goosebumps when they're around. Oh my God, it's Magic Johnson. They feel goosebumps. But anyway, let's give Magic Johnson 3 years before we anoint him the savior and all and whatnot, what to do. And now let's get to the position breakdown. Let's talk about the guards. I really liked what D'Angelo Russell did this season, and he averaged about 18 points per game after the All-Star break and averaged 5 assists. I like those numbers. And I especially like he shot about 35% from 3, which is very good, and he shot about 42.5% from the field after the All-Star break. I wanted it around 45, but with the increased workload, you can't always get the perfect numbers, but I liked how D'Angelo stepped it up after the All-Star break. Now, what the Lakers have been doing for the past 4 years has been finding unknown talents. And we picked up Tyler Enos around the All-Star break, around the trade deadline. And he did pretty good for a backup point guard. Sorry about that, folks. iPhone. He did pretty good for the most part, you know. And I like to see Tyler Enos again. Next, we're going to talk about Mr. David Nwaba. He came from the D-League, and he brings defensive energy and athleticism to the Lakers. And I like to see David Nwaba on our Summer League team, but to go along with our potential draft pick, because yes, that's right, we have 2 draft picks. So to go along with our first round draft pick, which is the 28th selection in this year's draft, but I like what David Nwaba brings to the table, and I like to see him come back. Next, we have Jordan Clarkson. With Clarkson, I thought bringing him off the bench was a good idea. At first, I wanted to see a starting lineup of the fanboy in me. Wanted to see a starting lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, and Timothy Mozgov. But obviously, we didn't get that. But Bringing Clarkson off the bench is perfect because he fits more into that third guard role, and we signed him to a very team friendly contract. Rather if the new regime chooses to keep him or not, I really think he's a good player. He's about 23, 24 years old, and I really like what he did. He's here to stay, and he's part of the players that I put down that we should keep. Next, we have Nick Young. A resurgent Nick Young. He did pretty good this season. He went from almost being kicked off the team and almost out of the league into becoming one of our better players this season. I don't have Nick's stats in front of me, but I think he shot 40% from 3 this year, and he showed a willingness to play defense. So obviously, Nick Young responded to the better coaching of Luke Walton rather than being in Byron Scott's doghouse the past 2 years. Do I want to see Nick Young back? I think Nick Young has a player option, and he'll be foolish not to exercise it because obviously shooting's a premium in the new NBA, and I really think Nick Young's going to opt out and go somewhere else. But you never know. He likes being around LA. He likes being in the bright lights. He may stay, but only time will tell. It's only April 13th, folks. A long time to July 1st, so anything can happen. Let's get to our forwards. Talk about the young man here, Brandon Ingram. Now, obviously, I knew coming in he was going to be a work in progress because he's about 6'9", maybe 6'11" now, and about 185 pounds soaking wet. And let's be honest, I don't think he's 190. He averaged about 9 points and about 4 rebounds per game. And I know everybody was bringing in the KD comparisons, but I don't think that was fair because Kevin Durant completely came in under a different situation where he had to be the guy for the Seattle Supersonics, whereas Ingram had like Russell, Randall, and Clarkson to like compete with for shots and playing time. But I like the fact that Brandon Ingram shows good defensive potential. I know the advanced analytics. I'm not an advanced analytics guy. I know the advanced analytics show otherwise, but I really liked how Ingram progressed throughout the season, and he got stronger throughout the season. Look at his stats after the All-Star break. He averaged about this is after the All-Star break. Bear with me, folks. He averaged about 13 points and about 3 rebounds and 3 assists after the All-Star break. And he shot almost 50% from the field, about 48%. And while he didn't shoot well from 3 this year, you could tell he's a good shooter. Because I think he shot 41% at his lone season at Duke. And I really like the fact that Ingram got stronger and he started going to the hole. Magic Johnson, obviously we seen him work with Ingram, pull Ingram to the side, say, young man, go to the hole like this. Young man, do it like this. And obviously with the addition of Magic Johnson, that obviously helped Brandon Ingram tight. Now, I'm going to skip Lou Hall Dang. I'm going to get to Dang and Mozgov in a minute. Bear with me. Now, let's get to Corey Brewer. We have him for about 7.2 to 7.5 million. He's under contract next season, so it looks like he may be back. But he was I liked how he went to the hole. He's not a good shooter. We know that. But he's a good defender. And the Lakers seem to play better under Corey Brewer than with Lou Hall Dang. So, it's only time will tell. I mean, he seems like a pretty good veteran for the young players to have around, along with Metta World Peace, which I think is his last time we're ever going to see him in a Laker uniform. But he may come back as a front office guy. You never know with Metta. Now, let's bring up Julius Randle. Julius, he was up and down this year. Obviously, he didn't average 10 rebounds. He averaged about 13 points, about 8.5 rebounds per game, down from the 10 that he averaged his previous season. But this is Julius's really second year in the NBA. I know contract time is coming for Julius because this is his third year on paper. But remember, he broke his leg. So last year really was his rookie year. And this season coming up, we saw him try to work on that left hand, try to work on that 10 to 15 foot set shot. So, and Julius also is a playmaker. He can bring the ball up the court. He can pass. He had 3 triple doubles this year. So Julius has a good all-around mini Draymond Green, a swift army knife. But the only thing I got to see Julius work on is his post defense, Remember, Karl Anthony Towns went for 40 and 20 on him when we played Minnesota the last time. So I mean, Julius has to work on his defense, and he has to work on his shot. That's the only way he's going to stay around in the league long. But if you look at Draymond Green's numbers and look at Julius' numbers between their first and second seasons and third seasons, and remember, Draymond, I think, played 3 years of college, so their numbers are very similar. And this is before Draymond became an all-star. So I really like the potential of Julius Randle. I really hope Julius stays. For the most part, I really hope, actually, most of our young players stay. So, and we saw Julius average about, after the break, his rebounding picked up, which I like. He averaged about 9.7 rebounds per game, along with 13.7 points. So I like what Julius did in the second half of the season. Has Luke I'm not going to say tanking, but start developing the young players more. They stepped it up and they increased their numbers. It's just that these kids have to work on playing together, and that takes years and time for us to become the Golden States, the San Antonio Spurs, the Clevelands, the Boston Celtics. It takes time to develop that chemistry, and I really think towards the end of the season, I think we went 5-1. We lost to the Golden State Warriors, but I really think that we should keep all our young kids for the most part, unless a mega trade comes, and you never know what happens. So, but you never know. Now on to one of my favorite players, Larry Nance Jr. Chip off the old block. We know Larry Nance Sr. for his thunderous dunks and his high flying ability, and it seems like Larry Nance Jr. picked up the ability from his father. And also, Larry is our best defensive player according to the metrics and the eyeball test. And we saw him shoot more threes and get more comfortable on the offensive end in his second season. He played 4 years of college, and the fact that I really think he's a veteran savvy guy, we should keep a Larry Nance Jr. on the team. And I would like to see Larry Nance be a long time Laker. Next is Thomas Robinson. Whenever T-Rob came into the game, he did pretty good. I mean, he always manages to get like 10 and 8 or like 11 and like 10 or whatever. And that's amazing. I mean, considering he was the number 5 overall pick in a few drafts ago, people thought he was a bust. He said he had to play within himself, and with Magic Johnson pulled him to the side and he said, just play within yourself, work on the mental aspect of the game. And this was Thomas Robinson, in my opinion, best season. And I like to see Thomas Robinson come back. And he indicated he wants to come back. And Tyler Ennis said he wants to come back as well. But you never know. We already just talked about Meta World Peace. Next, let's talk about Ivica Zubac. Now, this kid I think was the steal of the draft. Because obviously, when they drafted Ivica Zubac, I'm like, who the heck did they draft? But because we don't know the international game. But come to find out, he's actually a pretty good player. The only reason why he actually fell in that draft was because, excuse me, folks, was because teams wanted to draft and stash him, and he wanted to come over and play immediately. And when he played more in the second half of the season, boy, did he ever play. He averaged about 10 and about 5. And the fact that he's our best rim protector already, he averaged about 1 block a game in the second half of the season, post All-Star break. And I think he's our center of the future for us. And I think he's close to being on the untradeable list, but nobody's untradeable. You never know. But I like to see more Zubac in the summer league. Unfortunately, he got hurt. He had a high ankle sprain. He missed the last 2 weeks of the season, but obviously he lost 15 to 20 pounds during the course of the season. That shows that he's a very hard worker, and the fact that he has a soft touch around the basket and shows good defensive instincts, let him get his man strength. I think he'd be a Marc Gasol type of center for us. Tari Black. Here's the thing with Tari Black. If we're gonna keep Thomas Robinson, I think Thomas. If we're gonna keep Tari Black, I really think that, or Thomas Robinson rather. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, folks. Got distracted. But Thomas Robinson and Tarik Black do the same thing. So since I like Thomas Robinson a little bit more, and I like I like Tarik Black too. But it's gonna be difficult to see which one we keep. Power forward is really stacked for the Lakers, so you never know. And Timothy Mozgov averaged about 8 and 6, and they signed the old regime signed those ridiculous contracts. And now I'm gonna bring up the Deng and Mozgov contracts. I think we got Mozgov for 4 years, 64, which is about 16 million, and Deng signed a 4-year, $72 million contract. Personally, here's my opinion. I think we got to move Luol Deng. By hook or crook, we got to move one of these contracts. I think Timothy Mozgov's contract, he could be useful, obviously. So he could be a good backup center to Ivica Zubac. But the contract I definitely think we got to move is Luol Deng. It's not because I don't think Luol is a good player or he's not a good veteran presence for the team. It's just the fact that I don't think he's an NBA small forward anymore. He doesn't have the legs to. At one point he did when he was with the Bulls, but he's an old, I think he's 30, 31, or 32. He's an old 31, 32. So the fact he's a power forward now, and he played a lot of power forward for the Miami Heat last season, but I don't think he's an NBA small forward anymore. I think we got to find a way, maybe package one of the picks and move Luol Deng's contract. So that way we can bring in a real veteran presence, a real player that can help this team go forward. Now, obviously, if we were, let's just say, I'm just going to touch on this a little bit. And I know this is long-winded, I'm babbling, but I'm just going to leave with this. If one of the players, Jimmy Butler or Paul George, become available, that's the only way I would trade the pick. But with Markelle Fultz and Alonzo Ball and Josh Jackson in his draft, considering if we were to keep the pick, let's pray to the basketball gods that happens. I say we wait until Paul George. I'm concentrating particularly on Mr. George. We wait on Paul George to become a free agent next season and go for him. I know there's a threat of Boston getting him, but I really think the man wants to stay home. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about the Los Angeles Lakers. Comment, rate, subscribe. It's your boy, Mr. Universal Sports. That's my thoughts on my Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm out. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.